Hello, everyone. Welcome on this beautiful, well, it's sunny in California, but I don't know where else everybody else is. Um, we will get started shortly. We're going to show a little video and then we'll get started. So,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. We are Premed CC, a student-led organization established in the fall of 2021. Our goal as an organization was to create an online community for pre-medical students at community colleges and universities with the hope of guiding the next generation of diverse and inclusive physicians.
And while we advertise our organization as being for community college students, our events are open to anyone. We realize that finding guidance and mentorship in a pre-med journey can be especially challenging for first-generation pre-med students, people that lack the financial resources, or just those that do not know people in the medical field.
One of the best parts about our events is that they're virtual, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. We typically have events on Fridays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. PST, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. PST.
If you aren't able to attend the event, all our sessions are uploaded on our YouTube channel. Many of our sessions will end with Q&A with our speakers. Any questions that you have can be put in the Q&A section on Zoom, and our team members will read them and have them answered.
After you have attended our event, you can log on to our website and complete the quiz, which will contain questions pertaining to our session today.
If you score 70% or higher on the quiz, you'll be awarded a 2-hour mentorship certificate to show that you attended our session today.
If you want to stay connected with our upcoming events or want to tell your pre-med friends about Premed CC, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Premed CC.
Thank you. Allow me to welcome our speaker today. Dr. Sharon Milgram received a bachelor's degree in physical therapy from Temple University and a PhD in cell biology from Emory University. She completed postdoctoral training at the Johns Hopkins University before joining the faculty at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. There, she rose to the rank of full professor in the Department of Cell and Developmental Biology. Dr. Milgram served as the Associate Director of the Medical Scientist Training Program, Director of the Interdisciplinary Biomedical Sciences Graduate Program, and the Director of the Summer Undergraduate Research Experience. In 2007, she joined the NIH Office of the Director as the Director of the Office of Intramural Training and Education, where she directs a trans-NIH office dedicated to the career advancement of over 5,000 trainees. Dr. Milgram currently lives in Silver Spring, Maryland, with her wife.
Thank you. Can you hear? You can hear me, right? All right. So I just had as you were, first of all, the video is amazing. So thank you. And then thank you for your nice introduction. And as you were doing that, I'm like, okay, let me bring my file forward, and my computer froze. So I'm going to need 1 second now that it's unfrozen. Okay. All right. I think we are good. All right, so let me start by apologizing for missing the time I was supposed to be here a couple of weeks ago. I got a virus that really kicked me in the butt, and I was feeling really poorly, and I wanted to come sometime when I was feeling better. Someone from the group, and if you're here, maybe pop a message in the chat, emailed me and said, I'm so sorry you didn't come, and I'm going to be in DC, and I wonder if we could get together. And I'm sorry that I didn't actually get that email till after. So I want to just start. I can't remember the name of the person, but I just want to start by A, thanking you for reaching out, but B, apologizing for not answering. So I'm going to talk today about internship opportunities at the NIH. And I'm going to explain just a little bit about the NIH. I'm going to talk a little bit about summer and year-round opportunities. I'm going to talk about a scholarship that we have for college students. And then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to take every question that you have with the hope that what happens today is that I pique your interest and you think, wouldn't it be cool to train at NIH? but also that I hope you believe that there's a place for you here, that you have help during the application, and that you really consider applying. So put your questions into the Q&A, and I promise you I will take time making sure all of them are answered. So I just want to put into perspective sort of where we are in terms of health care and medicine and health equity and our understanding of the many challenges that we face. Before I talk about NIH, I just want to put this into perspective. And really, although the pandemic is more and more in the rear view mirror, and we're certainly not talking about it or thinking about it as much, the pandemic is an example of the need that we have for a sustained effort in biomedical research, understanding the transmission of COVID, the progression of COVID, long COVID, COVID vaccines, treatments, getting a sense of what is driving all of the vaccine hesitancy. All of those things are examples of the kinds of challenges we face. But beyond that one event, I mean, there's a growing burden of disability and chronic disease here in the US and globally. Diseases that used to impact old people for the most part, we're seeing in young people because of changes in our diet and activity, because of environmental issues, for all kinds of reasons. And nothing is equitable, right? There are health disparities, there is inequality, there are people who have access to excellent health care and people who have access to very little health care. And that really adds to the challenge. And in fact, some of the disease burden we see in terms of disability and chronic disease are a part of these health disparities. We have to make really complex medical decisions, right? You go to the doctor, or someone you love goes to the doctor, and there's some really challenging and difficult news delivered. And then you could do this or this. I recommend this, but here are the risks. And we have to make really complex decisions. But many, many people in our communities haven't had a science class since 10th or 11th grade. And this is really scary. And there are barriers around asking physicians and other healthcare providers questions. There are barriers around believing the medical enterprise. And still, we have to make these really complicated decisions. People walking across the earth are sick, but the honest truth is Mother Earth is sick, and there are terrible threats to our environment. Climate disasters happen much more frequently. We just had the warmest November ever. I think we actually also had the warmest summer ever. Our environment is under great threat, and there is an interplay between some diseases in the environment. There are environmental factors that cause disease, for example, asthma, but also environmental disasters drive disease because of a lack of cleanliness, access to resources, etc. And just when we face these huge challenges, we see ourselves in a period of time where there's an incredible disconnect between science and society. People don't trust scientists like they used to. Every year that has declined, and I think there was an incredible decrease in trust during the pandemic for a lot of complex reasons. So we face some incredible challenges. And if we want to tackle those challenges as a community, we need a talented, creative, and diverse workforce interested in science, technology, engineering, math, and medical fields. And in some way, each and every individual who joins the STEM workforce can contribute to tackling these challenges. So the way we're going to address these issues is by recruiting you to think broadly and thoughtfully about what you want to do in your career. I know this is a group for people interested in medical school, but research savvy physicians make a big difference, right? Research savvy healthcare workers can be the difference between making a complex medical decision with confidence or not. So the way we're going to tackle these challenges is by recruiting people to the biomedical research and healthcare enterprise. And the NIH plays a big role in that. So we are actually your National Institutes of Health. We work for you. We're an agency of the federal government under Health and Human Services. The NIH mission is to uncover new knowledge that will lead to better health for everyone, both here in the US and globally. We are a leader in biomedical research, in health education and information dissemination. We are a leader in training the future workforce. And the NIH is complicated. And so it can be very intimidating to think of coming here or think of applying for a grant someday in your future because of the complexity. But once you understand us a little bit, you realize we're a whole lot of people that care a lot and who are happy to answer an email. Although sometimes you have to email 2 or 3 times. So let me teach you a bit about the NIH. So first of all, I want to be clear, it's the National Institutes of Health, plural. It is actually comprised of 27 institutes and centers. There's a small difference between an institute and a center. An institute gets its budget right from Congress. So Congress says in the NIH budget, the National Cancer Institute is going to get this much, and the National Eye Institute is going to get that much. A center gets its money from the institutes, but we consider them to be the same. It's just that one nuance difference. And there are 27 different, what we call ICs. So if you ever come to NIH and you work here, people are going to say, what IC are you in? And they mean, which institute or center do you work in? Nearly all of those 27 ICs have 2 major divisions, extramural and intramural, mural meaning walls. So extramural means the part of NIH that supports research and training outside the NIH, meaning NIH funds a grant on a college campus, at a medical school, at a research institution. So the money is sent to support research and training outside of the NIH. Intramural means within the walls. That means money spent doing research and getting trained at the NIH on our campus or one of our campuses. So we support and actually do biomedical research by sending money to extramural to do research, by funding research within the intramural program. And something really important to understand is the breadth of research we do. So there's this language that you might have heard in another talk or in a class, bench to bedside research. That means at the bench, very basic science, to the bedside, translational, meaning using animal models or tissue from human samples. So translational, the goal is to take the basic science to the clinic and then clinical research or research with human subjects. We span the globe in what we support and what we do. And we use tools from the behavioral sciences, the biological sciences, chemical sciences, computational, mathematical, physical, and social sciences. So whatever your major, it likely is represented here. Some are represented more. For example, there are many more labs doing biological science than are doing physical sciences using tools of physics, but you can find everything here. We support research in the US and throughout the world. All of our campuses are here in the US, and I'm going to tell you about that next. And one of the key things, one of our main missions is to support the healthcare and research community of tomorrow. So many of our programs are focused on helping you receive the training you need to develop a successful research or healthcare career. Now, I'm not going to talk about extramural NIH at all. I'm going to talk about intramural, and this is a flyover of the Bethesda campus right on the edge of Washington, D.C. Across the street is Naval Medicine and Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital, and in fact, this is the view that the president sees as he comes, or she, hopefully someday soon, comes from the White House to go to Naval Med or to visit NIH. So this is a flyover from a helicopter. It's a huge campus. We call the intramural program the nation's biomedical research institution, meaning we do research on behalf of the public. 24 of the 27 ICs have an intramural program. The biggest campus is in Bethesda, Maryland. There are 2 other campuses in Maryland, one in Baltimore and one in Frederick. There is a smaller campus in North Carolina, and even smaller campuses in Arizona and Michigan and Montana. It's in Hamilton, Montana, by the way, and it's called Rocky Mountain Labs because it's where the first research on Rocky Mountain spotted fever was done. There are over 950 research groups in the intramural program. Lots do basic and translational research, some do clinical research. A lot span the spectrum quite a bit. So many people in the lab might be doing basic research, but then something looks really interesting clinically, so they add a translational arm and sometimes even eventually a clinical arm. And we have training opportunities for students at all levels, starting from early college students all the way through. So you could come now as a college student. You could come in between undergrad and what you want to do next, whether that's medical school, graduate school, another healthcare or professional school. You could actually come during your training as a graduate student or a professional school student. You can come after. We have people at all levels. One of the really exciting things about NIH is something called the NIH Clinical Center, which you can see right here. This entire building is the clinical center, okay? All of this. So this is a 240-bed hospital right in the middle of the NIH campus, and every patient who comes to this hospital is enrolled in a clinical trial. So this is a place where a lot of clinical research is done. Now, some of you might be interested in actually learning about clinical trials. Maybe you or someone that you care about is struggling with a rare disease or has looked into treatments in the community and exhausted some of the options and wonders, is there a clinical trial that might be happening? There is a website, clinicaltrials.gov, that lists every clinical trial in the United States, and it's good to keep in mind. A couple times, someone in my family or friend circle has called and said, I just got this rough diagnosis, I just got this rough news, and I've been able to help them find a clinical trial. Sometimes, outcomes are still difficult, and sometimes clinical trials and expert advice can make a big difference. So it's worth knowing about. For students training here, what's exciting is it's an opportunity to learn a bit about clinical research. So let's talk about if you might want to come here. So we have a summer program. It allows 12th graders in, although they have to be local. And I think all of you are beyond that, but you might have siblings. And if you're in the area, this might work. For the most part, our programs in summer are for college students and beyond. We have this college scholarship program. Post-bac program is for people between undergraduate and graduate or professional school. The Medical Research Scholars Program is for medical students. The Clinical Electives Program lets medical students rotate in the clinical center. The Graduate Partnership Program is for PhD students. And then we have programs for more senior research and healthcare professionals. GME programs are graduate medical education programs for people who finished medical school, and postdocs are for people who finished their PhD. So we train people all along the educational spectrum. But not only do we train you in research techniques, we also develop your career. So we have workshops in science communication. We have a lot of what we call career readiness workshops. So how to help you learn to explore careers, to prepare really stellar applications, interviewing assistance. We have career counselors through our Career Services Center, and they provide pre-graduate and pre-professional advising as well. There is a large well-being program here because to do well, you have to be well. And science careers are hard. Healthcare careers are hard. School is a challenge, and life these days is really hard. Like it's almost hard to open the newspapers anymore, right? There's so much difficult news. So we have a lot of training in resilience and well-being and leadership, all the interpersonal skills to thrive here. We have lots of big major events and these intensives or a boot camp where for a few days you can dive into a topic. We have a career symposium in the spring that helps people understand career options for biomedical researchers. We have a graduate and professional school fair during the summer where schools from all over the US come to talk to our summer interns and postbacks about their schools. Lots of medical schools, graduate schools, MD, PhD programs, dental programs, psychology programs, etc. To give you practice presenting your science, we host poster days for the postbacks and the summer interns and the graduate students, so you get a chance to present your work. The Translational Science Training Program teaches you about how drug discovery happens. How do we make a drug? How does a vaccine get developed in the basic science side, the translational side, clinical side, etc. And because so much of how we will be successful in the long term relies on the ability of scientists and healthcare professionals to talk to the public, we teach a science advocacy bootcamp. And you have access to our Career Services Center and our Wellness Center. We really believe that we have to develop the whole person, and that science and research training is one part, but that the other part are these career development activities. So I'm going to talk about some of the programs in a little bit of detail, but I want to start by just mentioning one thing, which is eligibility issues. So some programs require citizenship or permanent residency status. I am really sorry about that because I wish we could welcome everyone to NIH, but the requirements are set by Congress, and there is a big focus, especially at the early educational levels, in supporting US citizens and permanent residents. Our graduate programs and more senior programs are open to foreign nationals as well. This is a federal facility, so one element of eligibility is that you can pass a federal background check. And while marijuana use is legal in many states, it is not legal at the federal level. And I like to say that really clearly because students get confused between legal at the state level and legal at the federal level. So marijuana use will block you from being able to come here. Now, the summer background check is very small, so it's not an issue. That said, let me just say I'm not condoning the use of marijuana. Science suggests that it is not good for our ability to learn. It's not good for brain development. I'm just a realistic person who acknowledges that we send a confusing message by legalizing it. So it's not a big deal in the summer, but it's a very big deal at the post-bac level and beyond. And then some programs that I'll talk about have specific or unique eligibility criteria. Some have no GPA requirements, some have a GPA minimum. Some you need to show extreme financial need. Some are only open to community college students. And we have one virtual program and where the eligibility is that you're unable to come in person. So you have to do your homework to make sure you're eligible. I'm going to run through a few programs, and the first is the Undergraduate Scholarship Program, or the UGSP. So this will provide a payment to your school of up to $20,000 to cover educational expenses. You have to meet these eligibility criteria. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You have to have a GPA of 3.3 or higher. You have to meet the federal definition of extreme financial need. You have to be majoring in a field relevant to biomedical research. And like I said, everyone has to pass a federal background check. So we're going to give you a college scholarship. What else are we going to give you, and what are we expecting of you? For every year you get a scholarship, you owe us a year of coming to NIH as a paid intern. So you have to come to do what we call a payback obligation. But that payback obligation is an internship where you get to grow and learn and use all those resources. If you get the internship for your junior year, you come between your junior and senior year for 10 weeks. Then you go back to school. You can come back to NIH right after you graduate, or you can come later after you finish graduate school or medical school. You can defer your payback if you are in school. You can't defer it and enter the workforce. So if you're going to enter the workforce, you come do your payback first. Some people do their payback first because it helps them be more competitive for medical school or graduate school, but you can put it off. We have people who come and do medical residency here as part of their payback. So they actually treat patients in the clinical center. This is a wonderful program if you meet the extreme financial need criteria, if you can come here for the summer, and if you don't have a full set of scholarships from your school and other places. Up to $20K is a nice contribution towards your college tuition, and it is sure expensive to go to college these days. All right, the summer internship program. These are paid internships in an NIH intramural research group, meaning you have to come to one of our campuses. You can do it pretty much across all those different disciplines I talked about, and they last, the minimum is 8 weeks. Some go as much as 12, but most are 10 weeks. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to apply. And when you apply, you have to be enrolled in school at least half time. So if you're in community college now, you're eligible. If you're a college student now, you're eligible. If you're a graduate student now, if we have some more senior students on the line, you would be eligible. But if you're in a gap period working, you wouldn't be eligible for the summer program. High school students with very restricted eligibility, college, graduate school, professional school. You might not want to come now, but you might start med school and think, I would love to do a year of research at NIH. So you can keep it in mind for later. Now, my office sponsors what we call sub-programs or cohort programs. One is specific for community college students called the Community College Summer Enrichment Program. And we ran this because when we would go out and recruit and talk to students in community college, they'd say, oh, I don't have as much experience as people in a four-year college. I don't think I'm going to get in. And then we looked and we thought we saw some bias on the part of our faculty, that they selected people from four-year colleges over community colleges. It wasn't very clear, but we really felt like there was some barrier. And what we want to say to people in community colleges, please come. It's a great place to get a little bit of experience, to learn about transitioning to a four-year college successfully. You do much of that in this program here, right? It's help with learning about professional school applications. So we run CSEP. CSEP is run together with CSOR. CSOR is for students in four-year colleges who, for whatever reason, don't have a lot of chance to do research during the school year. Maybe they have to work. Maybe they have to take care of siblings or parents. Maybe they go to a small school and there aren't as many resources. Maybe they have to do work study and all they get to do is wash dishes in the lab. They never get to do a project of their own. So CSOR is a leg up for students who don't have access to research during the school year. VSOR is virtual. It's a little bit of a different program, and if anyone feels like they can't travel and they can't do an in-person internship where they live, VSOR is better than nothing. That said, we believe the best option is an in-person internship. But if you have questions about VSOR, I can explain a little bit more about it. Because we want to make sure that a diverse cadre of medical students are exposed to research early in their career, we also host a program called MSOR. And then finally, if any of you are interested in getting master's degrees in data science, we have a master's level program in data science in the summer called the Graduate Data Science Summer Program, or what we call GDSSP, because it's a lot easier. You can apply to one of these sub-programs, and if you fit any of these criteria, it is advantageous for you to apply to these programs over the broader SIP. And I know some students came, some of your colleagues came who were at NIH last summer. Most of them were in one of these programs. If you get an undergraduate scholarship, you don't have to apply for summer because it's automatic. Really important thing about our sub-programs, we select centrally, meaning you apply to us and then a central committee makes selections, and then we notify you if you were submitted, if you were accepted. So you submit the same application as you submit if you were in the regular SIP, but you pick instead CSEP or CSOR. You can only apply to one of them. Okay, so if you decide to apply to CSEP, you can't also apply to the broader SIP. It's just CSEP. Now, if you don't get into the sub-program, we will help you move your application to the other broader pool. So there's about 6,000 applications every summer, which is a lot, I know, take a deep breath, but we take about 1,100 people, okay? And a lot of them are high school students, and that's a totally separate pool. So we probably have about 4,000 college and graduate and medical students for about 1,000 positions. So 1 in 4. It's actually, you know, I mean, there are programs maybe with better odds, but the honest truth is we see a lot of students who think they're not going to get in and come and shine. So
Dr. Milgram,
yep.
Can we share that other data?
What data?
The 100% of people that don't apply.
Oh, yes, thank you. 100% of the people who don't apply don't get in. And I will say one other thing. CSEP and CSOR have much higher success rates, especially CSEP, because we don't get as many applications as we wish for a lot of reasons. So they have much higher success rates. Now, there is also the general summer application. You might say, you know, I have a lot of experience. I don't need to do CSEP or CSOR. And you could apply to the general SIP. There's no central selection process. So at that point, individual NIH investigators read your application and they decide whether to hire you or not. So you apply online. They search the database, right, to find you. You have to help them find you. So you're sending out emails to lots of investigators saying, I might be interested in your group. And we describe that a lot in some of the videos I'm going to refer you to. My advice to you is if you meet the criteria for CSEP, if you are currently in community college, apply through that mechanism. We make a real effort to give community college students their first leg in. If you are already in a 4-year college, but you don't have a chance to do research during the year, apply to CSOR. Okay. And if you can't do an internship, you can't travel for an internship for family reasons, personal reasons, and you can't find something local, apply to VSOR. Now, there's also the post-bac program. That is 1 or 2 years. It is also a paid internship. You can see the payment level on our website, and it is for recent college graduates. So you have to have finished school to do the post-bac program. There are 2 post-bac sub-programs. One is the NIH Academy, which is an after sort of end of the workday learning community focused on health disparities. And the goal is to enhance your knowledge of gaps in health outcomes and health equity. It's to build a cadre of researchers and healthcare professionals who are really committed to health equity. And then there's OITE PEP. If you finish college and you've never had an opportunity to do research, or you've only had one small summer opportunity, OITE PEP is for you. It's like the OITE sub-programs, but for post-bacs. So it's a post-bac sub-program. Now, except for OITE PEP, NIH scientists pick their own post-bacs. So again, you have to apply early. They search the database. You have to help them find you by reaching out to them. They interview you by phone, almost always by phone, occasionally in person if you're close by, and then they make a decision. OITE PEP, we decide centrally. We read all the applications and we pick the candidates. I will say that we have special funding for 4 students interested in biomedical engineering and other areas of engineering. And so if you are an engineer, this is a great time to apply to OITE PEP because we have these extra positions. Both the summer and post-bac application it's online. You go to our application center, you pick the right program, you put in your contact information, and then you write a cover letter. That introduces you to us. It tells us what you're interested in, why you want to come here, what program interests you, and what you hope to do. You provide a resume. You can't upload it. You have to type it in. We're sorry for that. It's a bit cumbersome. And you give us the name of 2 people who will provide letters of recommendation. They get an email from us and they upload their recommendation. And then you provide a list of your courses and grades. If you get admitted, you will send us an official transcript, but we don't want to make you have to pay to get a transcript just to apply. So we let you type in your grades. A few tips on applying. Read the website really carefully. There are a lot of nuggets of important information. Every day we get emails with questions and our answer is, please read the website. It says it right there. Not because we want to be snarky, but because to succeed in the kinds of fields you want to do, right, that you're all planning to do, means to get good at paying attention to the details. So read the website and the FAQs carefully. There are videos embedded into the website. Watch those videos, okay? Watch them and stop and make sure you understand them and watch them again. I'm going to invite you to an upcoming webinar where someone is going to go over every step of the process and answer every question you have. So if you watch the videos and read the website before those webinars, you're going to be really well positioned to hit a home run on your application. And then it says, do you have questions? And if you do, it tells you where to email. Reach out and ask, okay? Like I said, only after you do all the other things, but don't hesitate. You have as much right to our time as anyone else, and we work for you. We are a part of the federal government, and our job is to help you get ahead. So reach out. As you're doing this, one really important thing is to think about quality mentorship, getting the support, the nurturing, and the guidance you need as you develop research skills. Students tend to pick by topic. I really, really want to learn, and they fill in the blank about heart attacks, or I really want to learn how to do cell culture. But the honest truth is, it doesn't matter so much what you learn at this early stage. It matters that you are really nurtured and supported. That is one of the reasons why I like our sub-programs. So everyone who mentors one of our students has to take our mentoring course. And you have us. So if suddenly there are some bumps between you and your mentor, you can come and say, hey, I need some help. This is what's happening. Can you give me some advice? So yes, we want you to explore some science that excites you, but the focus should really be on learning new things. You want to talk with people about the research and training environment. For the summer program, in some ways, we've done that for you because we select mentors and match you. But for the post-bac, you're going to have to judge by talking to previous post-bacs, asking good questions during the interview, and there's a lot of good resources. People skip this website. It's the most important part of the whole process. People think the most important part is getting a position, and I agree, that's pretty important. But it's really that you get a position in a nurturing and supportive environment. So now you all know me, right? I know this is a weird way to meet, but we've met. And so you could reach out and say, I need a little bit of guidance as I'm looking for a mentor. I want to just talk a bit about how many? 5 tips for success at NIH and beyond. I know all of you have big goals and you're aspiring to do really important things. The way that we get ahead is to think about our training through the lens of what we call core competencies. So what is it that I need to learn to be successful in a variety of different career paths, a variety of different environments? Things like communication skills, interpersonal skills, well-being skills, career readiness skills. So think about the core competencies you need to be successful. There are huge tips about this on our website. There's a lot of resources. I think this program gives you a lot of those core competencies. Get over any barriers you have to using resources. So you're here, so you're already using resources, but sometimes we're ashamed to go to a teacher and say, I really need some extra help. Or we say, oh, I made a mistake and that makes me feel really dumb. I must be dumb, so I'm not going to ask for help. I'm going to hide. When we are embarrassed or ashamed, we hide, and then we don't use resources. I think the most successful students I have mentored, and I have mentored thousands, the most successful use resources. They work hard on their own to develop those core competencies, but they use resources. Finding supportive communities like this one, like CSEP and CSOR and OITEPEP, those help a lot. In cultivating mentoring relationships, I was so excited to hear about the 2-hour mentoring certificates. Really talking to people who've walked these roads, who are supporters, makes a big difference. We cannot do any of this unless we tend to our stress management, our well-being, and our resilience. If we tend to all 3 of those, we protect our health and mental health. And we have a crisis of mental health and health issues in our country and in our young people. You matter a lot, so you got to take care of yourself. And if we really want to get ahead, we have to have some self-awareness of our strengths and our gaps, and we have to want to change. We have to want to think about what's holding us back and make it sort of change. I like to say, to do well, we have to be well, and I think you can't do any of this until you cultivate your well-being. So I promised you that there were going to be webinars to help. January 4th are the summer webinars. Some of the sub-programs have earlier deadlines, so you'll want to be really ready before watching the webinar. But you could wait and finish your application till after the webinar. Maybe today gives you enough information. The undergraduate scholarship application portal opens in January. If you are a low-income student who meets the UGSP eligibility, this is a wonderful program. So just want to leave you with some philosophy, a little bit of some pictures, and then I'm going to take questions. Sometimes as we navigate school and work, it feels like this wonderful bridge. Like it's so easy, it's beautiful, we're having fun, we stop and watch the ducks. It's not slippery, it's not dangerous. And sometimes we feel like we are on a wobbly bridge with really dangerous water. I would not want to fall into this water. And sometimes we feel like we're skipping rocks. There's no bridge even. We got to make it all up on our own. And I know that many, many students feel like they're skipping the rocks. We're here for you. No matter what, there will be wobbly bridge days and skipping rock days. But using resources helps you find a few more of these kinds of experiences. And I think that we all need to be prepared to learn through the wobbly bridge and no bridge at all. But we also want to find the resources to feel supported. There's a lot of information for you on our website. Our website is training.nih.gov. We have a YouTube channel that has hundreds of videos to support you on health and well-being. We have a mental health series. We have a going to medical school series. We have lectures from last year's grad fair up there. And you can email me. There is a listserv. I was trying to add it when my computer froze. There's a listserv you can join to get invited to our activities. I'm going to email it to Edith, and she's going to help me make sure that you get there to join it. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to take all the questions that I can possibly answer. Okay? As a professor hosting a lab, what is your feeling when you see a student cold emailing you, asking if they could be a part of your lab, whether it being as a volunteer or compensated? My feeling is that that is a student with some initiative. That doesn't mean I'm always as kind as I should be in answering and meeting. Sometimes I'm busy and I mean to answer and I don't. So don't be hurt when you don't get an answer. But many of the people I emailed were from a cold email. I wouldn't use the phone anymore. Most people don't like to be called and they don't pick up their phone, but a really professional outreach email, I would take as a really positive thing. I will be graduating next summer and I am interested in the iCure program. I plan to attend to MSTP and OxCam. Will prevent me from possibly participating, as I understand iCure is a 2-year program. iCure is a cohort program run by NCI. I think they do have a 2-year requirement, but OITE PEP doesn't. And if you meet the requirements of iCure, you probably meet the requirements of OITE PEP. You might want to do that. A part of me says that we see the data from MD, PhD students, and a lot of them do 2 years here anyway. And so a part of me says, think about 2 years if iCure really feels like the program you want to do. You could consider the post-bac program and not iCure. You could consider OITE PEP and not iCure. You'll have to think that through.
Dr. Milgram,
Yep.
just want to jump in. So she did the talk last year for us. The second half of it is how you cold email to do research lab, and she has, it's about a 30-minute. It was the end of her talk last year, and I would highly recommend you to watch that video because she went over in details the things you should do, how you should approach, what kind of email you should use. and also had some sample things. And so go and watch that. And also there's the PowerPoint on there as well. The other thing is that I just want to add too is that this is something that we've heard a lot too, is that people say, oh, well, applying to summer program is too competitive. I may just go this cold email and try to get a lab position maybe somewhere locally or somewhere else. And can you talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
as
Yes.
people because um and the only thing that I would add is these programs not only they fund you, they are mechanisms there to support you, whereas other labs may not have those mechanisms. And so just everybody loves to have free labor, but it may
Yeah,
not be the
I'm not a big believer in volunteering during the summer because there are lots of funded internships. The National Science Foundation runs a grant program called Research Experiences for undergraduates, and there are a lot of different possibilities. A lot of MD, PhD programs and various campuses sponsor summer programs. You should start by Googling paid summer internships in science, and you should apply. Now, at NIH, because we want everyone to be a part of the summer program, cold calling during the summer doesn't help. If a PI says to us, I want to hire a student, we say, did they apply to the summer program? And if they didn't, they can't come. I do think that some students, for personal and family reasons, can't travel, but even there, try to find a local program. I think that the professional development activities really make a difference. So that would be my thought about that. During the school year, it's different. I think, it's more, although I still think people should be paid for their labor, and I didn't have volunteers in my lab when I was running my lab because I think we all need to pay bills and we should support people. I do understand where sometimes someone says, I just can come in 1 or 2 days a week and there's no way to get paid. And if you can do that, I think that's okay. One of the reasons we run OITE PEP is because some people can't do that. So they get a job at the ice cream store, right? Or the Chipotle. And I say that we should honor and respect that because that's what you need to do to stay in college. As a first generation student myself, that's what I did to stay in college. The only lab experience I had in college was washing the dishes in the biology prep room. And that was almost enough to get me excited. So it's funny, that's my entree to science. So I'm not a big believer in volunteer experiences, but especially because as pre-meds, you have to do a lot of it in the hospital. So you're already doing free labor.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen a lot of times people have come to these sessions and they're more overwhelmed about applying, and they think that if they just finding a more or less intimidating way. But like I said, is there is no shortcuts in life, and I think that applying is a practice. I mean, if you're applying to medical school or grad school, that's a lot more competitive than a summer program,
That's
and
right.
it's more involved. And so we just want to reiterate that is that the worst answer you get is a no, but also it gives you that training, that practice to do that.
Yeah. Okay, let me go through some more. As a post-bac interest in applying to medical school, would this allow for readiness in applying to a dual MD PhD? The NIH post-bac is an excellent preparation for MD PhD. In fact, almost every MD PhD program in the country comes to the grad fair because our post-bacs are so well prepared. So it's a great preparation. As a community college student, I will start nursing classes January, February. Will I be able to do this program while taking those classes? If you're going to be taking classes in the summer, you won't be able to participate in the NIH summer program. It's a full-time program. And the website specifically says, don't expect to be able to take any classes during the day. And I know that keeps some people from doing the program. I'm really sorry about that. But the lab work is pretty intense. How would an experienced family nurse practitioner fit into the NIH? Would it be the post-bac or so the post-bac program is only open to recent college graduates or master's level students, and family nurse practitioners are likely too senior for the post-bac program. You can look at some of the clinical training programs. You might need to email me with the specifics of your degree, and then I can help you find the best program for that. If you're currently a post-bac student who received their undergraduate degree more than 3 years ago, are you eligible for the post-bac? It's a 3-year window. You have to start within 3 years. So you wouldn't be eligible unless you went back and got a master's, in which case you get an additional 6 months of eligibility. How much is the stipend for CSEP? I would love to do an internship at the Maryland campus. I live in the Pacific Northwest, don't have the money to support housing during the time and the plane costs. I don't have the stipend off the top of my head. If you go to the website, it'll take you to the stipend tables. We do sometimes have been able to provide some relocation expense. The stipend is enough to rent a place. If you are also paying rent back at your home, I do think it's an added stressor. And so you'll have to take a look at the stipend, and you can reach out to me.
And I could also say that last month where we had the students, a couple of them are from out of area, and they found housing that was pretty reasonably priced, and with the stipend, not only they were able to cover their housing, but also saved money.
Yeah. Oh, really? Save money? Very
Yeah,
few people tell me they
Rachel
were
said that
able to save money.
she said that she was able to pay rent, food, and everything. Well, she said when she was at NIH, she didn't eat, she didn't have to buy food because there was always food during the week. So she said there was always like, she said she never had to buy lunch because there was always food or somebody was taking them out to lunch. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
but yeah, and so she went over some of the things that she was able to do, and I will post the stipend thing as soon as I find it.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll just take a minute. Can VSOR be for extramural community college? Yes, you can participate in VSOR, which is also a paid internship. It's only 30 hours a week instead of full time. But you can live wherever you live and participate in VSOR. But you have to explain why you need a virtual internship. If we are chosen for the program, do we get to pick the IC we want to go to, or does NIH tell us? If you are accepted into like CSEP or CSOR or OITE PEP, then we will match you. Now, we ask you your interests, and it's a back and forth, but you don't get to pick. If you apply to the broader program, you can say, I'm only interested in working in the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. And if you get an offer there from someone, then clearly that's the institute you're in. But remember, for the broader SIP and the broader post-bac program, you apply to a central database, and PIs from all over look in that database to find candidates. What if I have a bachelor's degree non-STEM, but I'm currently in a community college? Can I apply for CSEP? Yes, you can. We take 1 or 2 almost every year career changers. They have such interesting life experiences. And then, they join the group. Occasionally somebody says, oh, I've been out in the workforce a long time, I feel old. But for the most part, they tell us they have a great summer. How much freedom do students get in choosing their research projects? Not very much, to be honest. You have to fit into a pre-existing group, and you have to use skills that people in the group know, and samples and resources and techniques that they already have sorted out. So the honest truth is you are a part of a team, and you don't get to pick a project all the way from scratch. And it wouldn't be very realistic for a summer if we did that. So I just want to be transparent and honest in answering that. What are the prerequisites a community college needs to even be considered for an internship of this caliber? to be a committed student who's taking some science courses, to have a curiosity about research, to put some energy into your application so it is thoughtfully written so that you tell us who you are. We appreciate, how could a first or second year community college student, or first and second year college student of any, really regardless of where you go, how could you be experts in things? It would be so unfair for us to expect that. We expect curiosity, that you're careful, that you're thoughtful, that you apply on time, that you give us the information we need. Okay.
If you want to be an expert, go get a PhD and spend 10 years on that thing, and you be an
Don't
expert.
be psyched out about this. Everybody was here first.
Yeah.
How can someone...
they know where you're at, and so they're not going to expect you to come in, and they know what level you're at. So
Yep.
Dr. Milgram, I got
Yep.
a question via direct message, and it's, how should I prepare in courses to be ready and successful in the summer program?
Oh, thank you. You know, I think that it does help to have a few baseline courses. I think it's really hard to come here for the summer before you've taken your intro biology. I personally think that a little bit of solidifying your math skills helps. A lot of research is what we call lab math, which is pretty basic, but it's like thinking math on your feet. And I think it helps to get into college and sort of refresh some of those math skills. Chemistry can help. It's not an absolute requirement. If you're interested in a computational lab, then it helps to take at least one computer science course. But the honest truth is, we take students after their first year of community college where we take students after 12th grade. Those have to be local, and I didn't talk about it knowing this audience was more senior. So basic introductory courses, some sense of professionalism. It's a job. We come to work on time. We dress appropriately. Our bosses give us gruff feedback sometimes, and we have to take a deep breath and hear it, go get support. So I think more than coursework is some sense of learning some of that professionalism. There's a couple questions all in a row about a background in zoology. So zoology would be a fine way to prepare for an internship at NIH. It extends from zoology to veterinary medicine, and we do have just a small number of people who want to go to vet school, but we're always happy to welcome them. We actually have a PhD program for veterinary scientists. So we have quite an interest in cultivating veterinary researchers. So zoology and an interest in veterinary medicine are perfectly good reasons to come here, and good preparation. If you already work as a registered veterinary tech, that just shows that you have some hands-on skills, and you should talk about that in your cover letter. Someone actively, so I think I answered the veterinary medicine ones already. My question is related to bridging the gap with the lack of knowledge of science with the community. How do you bridge the gap, and what do you start with in a conversation? Start by listening. So I think we all believe we have to convince people of things. I have a lot of people in my family. I come from a small religious community. I have a lot of people who are very, very vaccine hesitant. And I'm like telling my nephew, you got to get vaccinated. I'll give you $25 to get vaccinated. Come on, Ellie, go. And finally I said, can you explain to me why? What's the barrier? And it turned out that he had had some really bad experiences with healthcare earlier, and that he has actually quite a bit of fear around vaccinations. And we had to talk about the fear, not me saying, come on, Ellie. We have to listen. Number two, we have to use plain language. So we can't be sort of snooty scientists. We have to use the language that the community uses, and we have to be respectful of the community. We have to acknowledge where fear comes from.
we have to acknowledge where mistrust comes from. The medical enterprise and the research enterprise has mistreated people of color, right? Read the book about Henrietta Lacks, right? Or the Tuskegee Airmen. Or watch the movies. There's movies on both of them, I think. For sure, the Tuskegee Airmen. It's called Miss Evers' Boys. There's a reason why people don't trust us sometimes. So we have to be vulnerable and hear those things. And then we learn, if we listen well and we meet people where they are, we learn what their concerns are, and we provide resources that are culturally appropriate. Like, there's all these things now about training people in barbershops to talk about mental health. What a great thing, right? We hear from the community well, I want to talk about it in a comfortable place. And then we train people so they can do a good job. So we have to think about what's called community engagement and community participatory research. So I would say all of those things. Is this program suitable for students interested in biotech, making medical devices? There are fewer research groups, but there are some, so yes. What are the best people to ask for references? The best people are teachers and mentors who know you in professional settings. Second best would be the boss in a job. So let's say you have a job outside of science, but you are super responsible. You are the team lead. You are the go-to person. You show up on time. You stay to clean up. Like, those are really important things. So that would be your third option. Not friends, not family members. Sometimes people go to all this effort to email their congressperson and say, can you write me a letter? We ignore them. Unless you worked in their office as an intern, they're just writing a general letter that they'll write for any constituent. And so teachers who know you well, teachers in science who know you well are even better. If you worked in a lab, you say, oh my gosh, but it was just washing dishes. We say, no, that's a great way to start. So that would be fine. Teachers from classrooms with labs are good, and not friends, not family, not clergy. The one gray area is sometimes a sports coach can be a good letter, but it shouldn't be at the top of your list. If you can't find people and they know you really well, that would be fine. I've been
I would
working as
say, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I would
Sorry.
just say that you guys that are taking chemistry, just chemistry with lab, that's 10 hours a week. That's 160 hours a semester. I see my organic chemistry professor more than I see my girlfriend through the school
There
year.
you go.
So
All right.
they've seen you work, they've seen you, but if you're that student that shows up late and leaves early and leaves a mess, probably not a good person. But if you've been someone that sticks around, talks to the professor, they know you besides a student. The worst letter you could ever get is Joe Schmo was in my class and he scored in the 92 percentile in the class, and
He
that's it.
seems
Like,
smart. Yeah.
yeah, and he seems smart, but do I know that he's someone that, you can tolerate for 40 hours a week? Is he honest? Does he follow instructions? Does he do all of that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to do those things.
Do you want me to try to answer some more? There's still more. You want me to
Oh,
try?
yeah, there's more. Yes.
I'm happy to stay a little bit, but I'm going to try to run the rails quickly.
Go
Can
for
you
it. Go for it.
explain the transition for a summer intern to actually having a job opportunity? There is no transition. These are internships. They do not guarantee in any way a job at NIH, but you get a lot of professional development. You get access to networking. It certainly can help, but there is no direct relationship. Is there any summer program for people on their gap year? No, there is not at NIH. There might be somewhere else, but not at NIH. I have been working as a medical assistant. Does it help my application? It teaches you professional skills. It teaches you a lot of hands-on dexterity skills. It teaches you interpersonal skills. Without a doubt, that will interest certainly clinical labs a lot. It may actually even interest basic labs. Maximum age requirement? No, there is no maximum age requirement. We do not discriminate based on age, race, gender, sexual orientation, gender expression, ability status, veteran status, etc. Do you think that this program could be useful for pre-PA students? We have a number of students every year that decide to go to PA school. I think the more valuable are only the clinical experiences, because for PA school, you need so many hands-on hours with patients. I don't think a lab experience is as useful. So if you're a PA, I think it would be important to get into a clinical lab, and or pre-PA. There are fewer of those, so you would have to be really selective. I went to the NIH in Bethesda. Is that a separate campus than the one she mentioned? No, that is the campus I mentioned. That was the Bethesda campus. Genome and neuroscience. Genomics are in most institutes. You could do it probably in any campus, and many of the neuroscience institutes are in Bethesda. But the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the National Institute on Aging, which have a lot of neuroscience, those are in Baltimore. So you could do neuroscience on many of the campuses. Our organic chemistry is led by a TA. Can a TA write a letter? Yes, they can. They absolutely can. I would make sure if a TA writes one of your letters that you get a faculty member to write another one, even if it's just a class. One of the reasons I say get over not using resources is the students who go to office hours, they're the ones we remember. The students who go to study groups, the students who email, right? Those are the ones we remember. So at least if you're going to have a letter from a TA, find another class where you can get a professor. But if all you can get are letters from TAs, that's okay. We understand. You're starting out, you have access to a lot more TAs than professors. Are there opportunities for those with F1 visas? There are, but unfortunately not at the summer or post-bac level. So students on F1 visas can come as part of the graduate partnership program. Sometimes you can get a contractor job and do your OPT as part at NIH as sort of an honorary post-bac, but it's a stretch and a challenge, and it makes me frustrated because I think many students, both students on F visas and DACA students, where I really feel, can't we do better for both groups? The rules are such that the fellowship money is taxpayer money, and there are some requirements, and I'm sorry that happens. Is there any research without being in a lab? Yes, social science research, epidemiology, clinical research is often with patients. There is computational work where you analyze sequences or build databases. So there is other types of research, but there is a lot that's in lab-based. And I say to people, no big deal. If you don't want to do lab work, do something else. There is a myth out there that everyone needs to do some research to go to medical school. I think at least a summer is probably true, but in-depth research for many, many years, if you'd rather work in a nonprofit and develop your critical thinking skills other ways, that's fine. But I do think a little bit of research is really helpful for understanding the connection between medicine and research. Do you have any advice as to what type of labs I should aim for as an MD, PhD? A really quality mentoring experience that is in the basic to translational space. The MD, PhD programs aren't that excited about people doing full-time clinical research. It's not to say you can't in the long term, but the preparation for MD, PhD programs seems to focus more on translational work. But coming to NIH, if that's what you decide to do as a post-bac, almost any group you joined would be helpful. My undergrad degree was in psychology. I want to go to med school. Would I be able to get into a clinical lab or basic lab at NIH? Lots of psych majors come to NIH. First of all, we have the National Institute of Mental Health. It's always excited to have psych majors, but we have a lot of psych majors who decide they want to get a little bit of basic science experience. So absolutely a possibility. Is there research related to pain management? Yes, there is. There is a lot of pain-related research in the National Institute of Complementary and Alternative Medicine. There, NCCIH it's called. There is pain research around pain caused by chemotherapy in the National Cancer Institute. There's pain research in the neuroscience labs, right? Because pain is a neuronal process, how we feel pain. There's pain research in a lot of areas. So you could find pain research. Remember, there's a whole lot of, can I do this or that? And I like that because it shows you know what you love a little bit. So I really like that. But remember, if you don't get to do exactly what you want, but you have a good experience, that is really value added too. So don't get so hooked. What you do in a summer or even for a year as a post-bac, it doesn't have to be what you do for your whole career. Okay? It's just getting an experience. So don't get too hooked by that.
There's another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Someone said, is CSEP and CSOR eligible for international community college students?
Unfortunately, all of the summer programs are limited to permanent residents and U.S. citizens. There are programs open to international students. I saw, was there in the chat a list of programs that accept DACA students? I think we also have a list of summer programs that take international students. And if I can find it, I will send it. Okay. There is no list of every research opportunity at NIH. I think you already answered for me, so thank you.
There's a database, you can look it up.
There is a database, but it doesn't mean they have a position. You have to just get your application in and email people. Or if you apply to CSEP or CSOR or OITE PEP, put your application in and wait for us to reach out, and then we will help you match with someone. All right.
There's also there's a couple MD PhD questions, and we had Dr. Ajidola from UCLA MSDP program last week, I think, who did a whole presentation, and he also told me to say that whatever Dr. Milgram says, listen to her. So.
Well, I was going to say what you had a great speaker, so do that. Make sure to, why do I have 2 copies of this? I'm going to assume this is the right one.
We will post it. We will post the PowerPoint. Yes.
It just was uploaded successfully. So I also want to encourage all of you to watch the videos. It sounds like you have a lot of videos resourced through your community. We have a ton of YouTube videos. The MD PhD consortium comes every summer to NIH for the grad fair, and we have taped every one of their talks. The key is to get a lot of information from a lot of different people, because we all have slightly different ways of explaining things, slightly different opinions. It's good to hear from multiple people and sort of weigh everything. You are always, is this my 3rd year or just 2nd year? Okay, well, let me just say, I remembered this group all the way for a whole year. When I got invited again, I went, yes. You are a remarkable group of people. You have an energy to ask questions and to learn. That is really important. So,
well, I appreciate your time, and I know that you are 3 hours ahead, so it's 6:30.
I'm going to go home and start my weekend. There's a question about registering for the webinar in January. Just go to our website, click on the link, and it will help you to register.
Yeah, and we'll post it too. We'll post it as well on I think I'll go look it up, and I know we'll post it in our social media. So
sweet.
So yeah. Well, again, thank you very much. You are more than welcome to come anytime that you like. You can come every week.
Well, so
I'm sure
here's
you're spot.
I don't think my wife's going to be that excited because of the time difference. But you know, if you don't have on the schedule a talk on resilience and imposter fears, I will come and do that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've had actually a couple of talks on imposter syndrome because that's something we get, but resilience, yes. Well, we would love to have you, and like I
Yeah.
said, you can come every week.
All right. All right. Everyone
Thank you, Dr. Mug.
stay safe and well, and I'll see you.
Thanks.
Thank you both.